Chapter 1. All the numbers were right. The silence in the conference room was heavier than usual. Ethan, a principal in North Star Consulting's transformation practice, sat near the back, watching the back of Martin Cole's neck. Martin, the chief data officer, was standing at the head of the mahogany table, adjusting his suit jacket. It was a nervous tic he had never quite mastered. On the screen, the quarterly review dashboard glowed in North Star's signature slate blue. The numbers were perfect. Green arrows pointed up. Utilization was stabilizing. Revenue was within forecast. This quarter, Martin began, his voice steady but rehearsed. We're seeing utilization stabilize across all major practices. More of our people on paid work, fewer on the bench. The prediction model for staffing variances is now operating within a 2% margin of error. The grid on the screen lit up. Revenue by practice, margin by engagement, billable hours by partner. Green, where green was expected. Yellow, where yellow could be explained. Red, almost none. It was a masterpiece of administrative competence. Julia Reyes, the managing partner, sat at the head of the table. She didn't look at the screen. She watched Martin. She had built North Star from a boutique strategy shop into a global transformation consultancy through sheer force of will. She knew when a deck was hiding something. We anticipated competitive pressure, Martin continued, clicking to the next slide. A complex Sankey diagram flowed from left to right, showing client retention rates. But as you can see, the impact remains within forecast. Our churn is negligible. Tom Becker leaned forward. The senior partner had been with North Star longer than anyone. He was a man who moved slowly and said little, which was why people underestimated him until it was too late. An apex? Tom asked. His voice was a gravelly rumble. Martin didn't hesitate. Apex moved early. They discounted aggressively in Q3. It's not sustainable. Their margin erosion is public knowledge. But they closed Orion, Tom said. Someone's pen clicked once, then nothing. Orion was North Star's largest transformation engagement, a pharmaceutical giant trying to reinvent its supply chain. 3 years of work, hundreds of consultants, a showcase for everything the firm could do. It was the engagement that paid for the view, the espresso, and the data platform Martin was currently presenting. When? Julia asked. Yesterday, Tom said, not looking at Martin. I got the call this morning, before the coffee came out. Martin remained composed, though Ethan saw a muscle in his jaw jump. We modeled that scenario. It's absorbed in our worst-case sensitivity analysis. We have contingency pipelines. So this isn't structural? Julia asked, turning her gaze from Martin to the screen, as if testing the green numbers against the reality Tom had just dropped on the table. The financial impact isn't existential, Martin said, tapping the table. Tom's eyes narrowed. Julia looked between Tom and Martin. What did they say? Martin hesitated just long enough for Ethan to notice. It was a pause of calculation, of filtering. Procurement, risk. They wanted a different contract structure. Liability terms we don't offer. They wanted someone whose name was on it, Tom said. Martin's jaw tightened. We are a consulting firm. We deliver the program. The client runs the operation. That is the model. That has always been the model. Tom didn't blink. Orion asked who would answer for the rollout. And we gave them the right answer, Martin said, his voice rising slightly. Shared responsibility. A steering committee. Clear decision paths. We mapped the roles and responsibilities down to the associate level. Tom let out a short laugh. We gave them a diagram. We gave them a model that scales, Martin snapped. Naming a single person with operational accountability means we run it, not advise on it. That changes the liability model. It changes profit. Tom held his gaze. It changes whether we keep the client. Martin didn't flinch. If we start promising outcomes we don't control, if we start putting our people's names on the line for their internal failures, we'll be out of business in a year. You cannot scale accountability that way. No one spoke after that, but Ethan could see the tension in Julia's jaw shift into something more deliberate, less surprise, more decision. The green numbers on the screen were perfect, accurate, and completely irrelevant. After the meeting, the hallway was a hushed corridor of glass and gray carpet. Consultants moved past with laptops and coffees, oblivious. Ethan found Raj Mehta in the breakout area near the elevators. The senior manager had been running the Orion engagement for the past 18 months. He was staring into a cup of black coffee. He looked exhausted. "What happened?" Ethan asked, leaning against the counter. Raj looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed. "They asked us who would be responsible for the rollout. Not the project, not the deliverables. The rollout. The actual moment the switch flipped. What did we say? We said it was a shared responsibility. Cross-functional, stakeholder-aligned. We showed them the governance slide." Raj's mouth twisted. Apex named a single person, one phone number, one throat to choke. And that was enough? That was everything. Raj rubbed his eyes. They didn't want another steering committee. They didn't want a weekly status report with amber traffic lights. They wanted someone who could say yes on a Tuesday and still be there on a Friday to fix it if it broke. "Did you escalate?" Ethan asked. "Did you tell Martin?" Raj's laugh came out sharp. "To who? The account partner wanted to keep it advisory because of the margin targets. Martin wanted to keep it clean, so the data didn't get messy. Legal wanted to keep it safe, so we kept it shared." Ethan pictured the slide Martin had defended. Neat boxes, tidy arrows, dotted lines representing influence, solid lines representing reporting. A perfect system where no one was actually on the hook. In consulting, they called that a RACI matrix. Responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. A tidy grid that mapped who did what. Ethan had once heard a client call it a responsibility avoidance chart. Illustrated. And Orion heard that as no one who would answer for it, Raj said. Which was true. Everyone was responsible for part of the process. No one was responsible for what it became. He took a sip of the cold coffee. "I packed my team's war room up an hour ago. 18 months of work. Gone." Ethan looked out the window at the skyline. "Apex is going to bleed on that contract," he said. "Taking on operational responsibility is risky." "Maybe," Raj said. "But they have the contract, and we have a very clean, very empty dashboard." 2 days later, Martin was gone. The board memo was brief, efficient, and utterly bloodless. From Office of the Managing Partner. Subject: Leadership Transition. Effective immediately, Martin Cole will depart Northstar. The decision reflects misalignment with strategic priorities and our entry into a new phase of growth. We are grateful for his years of leadership. It was a burial at sea. That afternoon, Julia asked Ethan to step into her office. Her office held almost nothing. A glass desk, 2 chairs, and a view of the Hudson. No papers on her desk, only a tablet and a single folder. "Sit down, Ethan." He sat. Julia looked out the window, watching a ferry cut across the Hudson. "You ran the Titan Shield insurance engagement," she said, not turning around. "Claims transformation. Underwriting optimization." 3 years, Ethan said. "We reduced their processing cost by 12%. And you understand why we lost Orion." She turned then. Her face was unreadable. Raj's words echoed. One phone number, one throat to choke. They wanted someone who could say yes on a Tuesday and still be there Friday if it broke, Ethan said. We gave them a committee. We prioritized our internal risk model over their operational reality. Julia nodded. She walked to her desk and sat down. The board is concerned. Margins are declining. Clients are insourcing the easy work. And everyone is talking about AI. Every CEO I talk to asks the same question. If this stuff is so smart, why do I still need an army of consultants? Ethan waited. Martin didn't get fired because he couldn't do math, Julia said finally. He got fired because he kept treating this like a platform problem. Better dashboards, better forecasts, better decks. He thought if we could measure the business perfectly, we could manage it perfectly. He wasn't wrong about the risk, Ethan said. Apex is taking a gamble. Apex is taking the market, Julia corrected. While we debate liability terms, they are signing deals. Martin measured the past. I need someone who can secure the future. What do you need from me? I need you to stabilize our client relationships, Julia said. And I need you to figure out how we respond to GenAI before Apex turns it into a wedge that splits us open. Ethan paused. That's two different jobs. Client stabilization is relationship work. GenAI strategy is, well, nobody knows what that is yet. It's the same job, Julia said, her voice hard. We're a transformation consultancy that can't transform itself. We sell change, but we operate exactly the same way we did 10 years ago. If we don't fix that, nothing else matters. The AI isn't the product, Ethan. The AI is the pressure test. And right now, we're failing. She slid the folder across the desk. Inside were 3 names: Titan Shield Insurance, Swift Current Logistics, and a third client Ethan didn't recognize. Start with what you know, Julia said. Titan Shield is already asking about AI. Karen Holt wants a conversation. Karen Holt, Chief Claims Officer. The woman who'd told Ethan 2 years ago that she didn't pay for frameworks, she paid for outcomes. She had a habit of asking questions that made senior partners go quiet. Karen doesn't like experiments, Ethan said. Karen likes survival, Julia countered. And right now, her board is asking her why she has 500 claims adjusters doing work that ChatGPT can do in seconds. She needs an answer. Give her one. And if I can't stabilize things? Ethan asked. Julia looked at him evenly. Then we're all looking for new jobs, and Martin will be the one laughing. That night, Ethan sat in his apartment in Brooklyn, the lights off, staring at the Orion post-mortem on his laptop. The glow of the screen illuminated the empty coffee cup on his desk. He scrolled through the final report. Every metric had been green. Every deliverable had been on time. Every stakeholder had been satisfied, right up until the moment they weren't. The lessons learned section was full of platitudes about stakeholder alignment and communication cadence. It missed the point entirely. They hadn't been outsmarted. They hadn't been outworked. They'd been out-answered. Apex had looked at the messiness of reality and said, "We'll take it." North Star had looked at it and said, "We'll advise you on it." He thought about what was coming. He'd played with the models, ChatGPT, Claude, the open-source variants. They were incredible, fast, fluent, confident. They could write code, draft emails, summarize documents. But they were just tools. Like Martin's dashboards were tools. Martin had thought the tool was the answer. He thought if the numbers were right, the outcome was guaranteed. He forgot that numbers don't make decisions. People do. Ethan shut down the laptop. The screen went black, leaving him in the dark. He wondered whether intelligence had ever been the constraint. He picked up his phone and opened his calendar. The weekend hours had quietly turned into Monday again. He thought about calling his sister. He didn't. He blocked Monday morning for himself. Prep. Titan Shield. Karen Holt. He stared at the entry for a moment, then opened the private notes field and typed, "One phone number." Continue the full audiobook at the2project.com.